I'll get into it in a minute with you, but yeah, it's all right. It's right. Let me have a look. Screen record. Fabulous. Okay. Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? I mean, I as if well, like everybody, as if overnight, kind of, I was getting numerous phone calls and emails saying, "Oh, we're erring on the side of caution. We're just going to postpone.
Yeah.
We're just going to. It'll be fine. We're going to see how the land lies."
Yeah.
And then you get another phone call. Okay, well, we're probably not going to open now until September if it's an education thing. And you go, okay, well, I thought this was coming. So I've kind of 90%, I guess, of my work has either been postponed or cancelled. I mean, what I will say is a couple of organisations that I've worked for have been absolutely brilliant, John. So they've moved some stuff online. So I'm teaching a dance filmmaking for dance, but I'm going to do it online. So I'm going to use smartphones. So that's quite nice because actually it's something I've been meaning to do for a while, but I haven't got around to doing it.
Yeah.
So, and then I picked up a little bit of work. So like Doncaster Council have reacted to it by they wanted to build a website. It's like a portfolio site that could host everything. So I built that for them, and I've done a couple of online tutorials for people. But other than that, everything's on hold really. So what about yourself?
Similar. It was like, I suppose I noticed I'm just like kind of that observer. So for me, in my head was going out, felt as if I was one step ahead of everybody, because it was like, because you were just observing what was like happening online, you were observing what was happening outside socially, you were seeing what was happening in the shops, you're kind of going, and then of course then suddenly it was just like those 3 days of schools cancelling work, venues cancelling work, everything cancelling work. So yes, it just definitely for me went down to nothing. But like yourself, some of those, are finding a new way. So one of the schools which I work with is asking me to do some on pre-recorded resources. Thinking about taking their pupils on a story or a narrative over the next term and basically send it over to them. So I've converted the garage into a little mini dance studio.
So, and your work, is it primarily dance based in terms of teaching or performance, or is it a mixture?
I would say the majority of it at the moment has been about teaching, while still trying to develop other projects. And, I was just getting into that, funding, writing applications, setting up projects, thinking about, okay, we're going to do some stuff either later this year or the beginning of next. And now that's kind of just all been put on shelf, really. And really thinking further forward, isn't it? You're kind of going, well, that we come out of this, and then that's going to be about another year after that before there's any point in applying for funding, because everybody will be trying to get it. It'll be too competitive, So, trying to think of other ways of finding funding, really, at the moment.
And so I guess that the really obvious question is, immediately, how has this impacted you and your work?
It went from, really good, upbeat, that there's potential of brand new projects, exciting summer, going into autumn, to zero, totally. Everything wiped out, either put on hold or cancelled for the foreseeable future. And I suppose it's that unreal situation of going, there's actually nothing to support my work. If in the past one stream would basically go, and then that you were able to cover it from others. This is just blanket. You just can't do the work. And actually realizing, I think the big realization for me is actually it's not the dance or the teaching that is the most important for me. It's actually the interaction physically and on one-to-one basis with individuals and the community that I'm working with. That is really important.
And I think that's really interesting what you've just said is, so both you and I are freelancers, we're independent artists.
Yeah.
And I think I can say this but we've been around for a while.
Yeah.
We've seen peaks and troughs, and I would say we're quite weathered in terms of the storm of freelance work.
Yeah.
So you're well resourced that when you get a down period, you know that that's the period where you're going to do your admin, or that's the period where you're project planning, or you're coming up with new projects for funding, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. At the minute, it just feels like everything's stopped. And for me, I've had conversations with lots of artists from different disciplines, not just my own experience. And it's really, we're all trying to stay positive, but it just feels like the end of days for the cultural sector. Yeah. I mean, what does it feel like where you are?
It feels like, yes, everything's evaporated, people have gone. It just feels like, actually, when we come out the other side, it will not be the same. And the connections and the networks will not be the same. The priorities are not going to be the same. So it's just going to feel incredibly difficult to navigate or start to navigate through, because there's nothing to navigate around. I suppose flabbergasted about where we go from here.
And did you have any funding in when this all hit?
Had some projects that were basically coming up in for summer, new projects, which is, of course, has just been put on hold. It was like thinking in my head, you kind of have that summer, and then like the summer holidays is a down period, so you want to kind of make hay during the summer period, and actually that's usually historically a very good part of the year, because people want outside projects as well as inside projects. There's a lot of community engagement at that time because it's sunny, and there's just that peak. And you just think that's just being wiped out. And actually, if we do come out of all of this at about summertime, then you've still got that summer break that you have to survive through before then going into an autumn period. Very challenging, really.
Yeah. How are you staying so positive, John?
Well, I'm not. I have to say, this is me on a good day. Right. I know when we spoke early on in the process, and I think I hide this incredibly well, that I have been living with anxiety for, probably about 10 years now, right. In kind of different stages. This is, it definitely pushed me to that breaking point at the very stage. It all became very Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It was about, have I got a roof over my head? Am I feeling safe? All of those were just like the top priority.
Yeah.
I know then, a natural reaction for some artists, which is very valued, was we'll do stuff, we'll get through this, and very positive at the very beginning, and we'll make things. And that for me was a real negative extra pressure on top of going,
sure.
Actually, I am feeling less worthy. I don't feel like an artist. I wasn't feeling like an artist in those 2 weeks, because I'm not responding in the way that I'm seeing other artists respond.
Sure.
I can honestly say that put me in a really kind of dark place. But these are kind of natural processes, and I think I've learned over the 10 years you have to just ride with these things, and there's only so much that it can be that rainy day before the rain runs out, and things change, and I think that is changed for me now, because I feel like we've got settled, or we're feeling a groove or a wave through what being confined or locked down is like. And that creativity can't stay buried for too long, and it ekes its way out. So I'm starting to do I can find a way that I might work with the community. So I've started doing pre-recorded little dance sessions. Thought about our model for how we're basically delivering to the community in regards to our adult classes. So basically putting that out to our customers to kind of go first, say, what do you think of this? Because I thought actually the knee-jerk reaction was from most dance artists, let's just shove our dance class online. And I wasn't quite sure that that was the best way to go from a user experience. So I've been thinking about how that can be a different model.
And also there's something really interesting about value now. So I feel like value for the artists is open, because everybody, and I'm not criticising anybody, but everybody that's putting their stuff online for free, makes it really almost potentially sets a stall out for when we get back into the inverted commas real world. Is how do you then charge for something that you value for free?
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying that. I think it's a real kind of conundrum really, because I absolutely advocate for kind of access to high quality arts for people.
Yeah.
And for those less disadvantaged, which is usually where the funding came in, right?
Yeah.
Like the funding covered the cost at source, so we could deliver activities for people that couldn't financially kind of afford it, for example. So now that's all gone, we're giving everything away. At what point do we place a monetary value on it, which is something I've not figured out, and I'm still kind of wrestling with that question. And even to a point, this documentary that I'm making, is all goodwill from myself and everybody that's involved in it. It's been phenomenal the amount of people that have taken it up, and I feel like on one hand I feel like we're really part of a supportive community of artists, etc. But then also the other side of me wrestles with it and goes, like, what is the motivation for doing it, really?
Yeah.
Because actually, and I don't quite know. I think for me, it's a knee-jerk reaction to keep busy, which basically means I don't have to really think about the situation too much.
Yeah.
Because if I think about it, I know I'll go down, and I don't know if I can get back up.
I get that. I've struggled with actually seeing kind of the big players putting on their online content for free, and you kind of go, well, you can understand that from their perspective, and yes, it's great for engagement, but actually for smaller individuals, how can you compete with a big name? Or then turn around and say, actually, I would like you to pay for my service because I need that income. We need to be able to find those income streams to support our future art. It'd be just interesting. But I suppose what's interesting for me is to see how much drop-off that is happening from a consumer point of view. Is that really a worthwhile experience? For me personally, dancing around in my front room with limited space and obstacles is not the rewarding experience that I get with being with others and in a studio or a bigger space.
Sure.
So I think as a model, maybe, it's one of those things that some people is going to really like, and then you're going to have a small percentage of our community kind of still doing it, but there'll be a lot of drop-off from people.
And how do you think our world has changed as a result of this?
I think the thing that's really surprised me is how vulnerable we are. I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, every single initiative that's been set up has not been applicable, Couldn't get any money from the government for being a small business. Can't get any government for any money from being a self-employed person. Might be able to get something from Arts Council, but unlikely to get anything as being a company because there's too many other people competing for that. So you might get something as just being an artist. That vulnerability of going, actually, how do you just basically survive to support your art, or how we support that going forwards? Where does funding come from to be able to make art in the future?
Yeah, and the Arts Council thing's really interesting because I think it's great that they've responded and they came out really early, and I thought that was great leadership from them.
Yeah.
But then you read the fine print, and actually it comes at a massive cost. So the cost really is project grants are suspended, develop your creative practice grants are suspended, grassroots music suspended because they've taken that money from those for the initial relief fund. And again, they have a finite budget as well. They've taken all their reserves, but then that raises a bigger question in terms of 12 months down the line, if there's no money, so it feels like you're plugging a hole with a bath towel.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that it just highlights how unsupported financially the arts is, but it's a thing that we're falling back on to get us through this time, because we need to feel as if we're connected, and we need to feel that we're seeing quality art, and we need to feel that things are normal, but we don't provide that support when we're in good times. It's just always fighting for money.
So how do we move forward from this, and do we move forward from this?
I really hope that actually it's about an interesting story for me during this whole process was that ray of light that came from nowhere didn't come from our dance community. I had a message on Facebook from CrossFit that I go to, from the owner, basically just saying, I need to have some information about you. And that was kind of all, that was it. And then he said, I've just posted something. And basically it was our closed group for the CrossFit box. He posted saying that he'd started a new initiative called The Pledge, and he was going to do one pledge each week, which turned around and said that to the members of the box, if you're interested, pledge for this small business to help them through this time. And it was just saying when things were up and running that those who pledged would basically come to a class or find some engagement with our company in some way. And that really, honestly, it made me weep for most of the day, because it was just finding something from some bizarre place that took the time and the energy, and they were willing to support. So I think for me, it's this time is very much about branching out and just trying to find things that we would never have expected could be potential partners. That are not arts councils, it's not venues, it's not the normal funding streams, and it's about reshaping our art to kind of fit for their model than how we've been stuck in the last, however many years.
Sure. Interesting times, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are your colleagues and creative friends doing?
Well, I was going to say, just before I go on to say to that, what's really interesting for me as this is the process is that all my art that I've done so far has been very much about the social impact of our consumption on social media and the use of small tech. Your mobile phone, the internet, marketing, that sort of stuff. So this process is most probably making it like the 100th degree, because now this is the only way that we're able to connect with the outside world.
Yeah.
So I can say, post this, that this is most probably, on reflection, going to be like a really interesting period as to where that creatively for me takes our work.
Introducing kind of mobile technologies within art.
Well, I was like I suppose I was already doing, using what bits of tech are already on hand, but in a way that was about delivering the narrative, not going, okay, so this project is about using your mobile phone. I was doing more the irony of, I want to tell you, I don't think using your mobile phone is a really great thing, and I'm going to tell you that story by making you use your mobile phone.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, but now we're in that situation of, we're just having to use our mobile phone. We're just having to use the internet. We're just having to use Skype, because that's the way that we can connect and have some kind of relationship with people. So I see that out of this, that's going to maybe shift or heighten or expand, creatively or narratively, what's going to come out of what I do next.
And do you think your expectations have changed as a result of this? So for an example is, so I make films and I'm obsessed with sound and video quality, etc.
Yeah.
And I've had to really kind of, I guess, compromise on quality of sound, because a lot of the stuff that is within this documentary is Skype interviews or mobile phone footage. And actually, for me, it's been really interesting, because I think I've been really bogged down in the quality of the presentation, and maybe not necessarily the quality of the content.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I'm still hung up with. I know I've been reluctant to put things online because of always wanting to make sure that benchmark of quality is met. But actually, this situation is really forcing me going, you don't have the time to do that, you don't have the resources to do that, but you still need to connect with your audience and your community. Yeah. So you have to do something. Also, I think what's really changed is really just seeing the utility of what is around you and the multi-uses, thinking, what can you use that is just at hand to make something that is interesting? Yeah.
No, I get that. Would you do me another favour?
Yeah.
So when you snippets of you teaching, so I can overlay them with your interview.
So bits of me teaching.
Yeah, in your garage or your lounge or whatever.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So we kind of emphasise how you've responded.
Yep, I can definitely do that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you feel like we've missed, or that you want to kind of get out there?
No, I think it would be good if we can do this again to kind of go, well, so what's changed,
Shall we schedule one for about 3 weeks?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Fabulous.
And so when you're kind of saying, kind of what's changed outside, what's really weird for me is that outside has not changed, because just being in a village.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just grass, and it's in another field, and yes, there's a motorway, and there's not much on it, but.
That's really weird, because we live in a very similar area that we can see the motorway from my house, but around us is like a bridle path walkway, and then there's a council park which is closed. So people walk by our house, and it seems busier than it always ever has been.
Yeah.
But actually, for us, it doesn't, like, we were talking about this the other day, like, for me, I only see the impact on the news, because for me, I don't know anybody that's got coronavirus.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that's, apart from through social media, like, personally, I don't know anybody that's been affected, other than my sister-in-law who works on the respiratory ward. And you look out our window and it looks like business is normal.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 2 minutes down the street and you suddenly go, oh, hang on a minute, it's a little bit quiet. And I guess the only thing that's changed for us is there's a lot more police presence.
Right.
So sometimes it's really hard to quantify. And sometimes I feel a little bit like I'm in the Truman Show, where I'm kind of going, is this just a joke on us? Because, like, there must be 30 people walking down there. And to be fair, they are all social distancing. Or most of them are. And they're all really good. But you kind of go, this feels a bit weird.
You know, it was only like about 4 months, 3 or 4 months ago. Just before like the end of the year. I remember kind of going, oh, you know, about social climate, you know, we're basically destroying the planet. And I remember just like kind of starting going, what we just basically need is like a pandemic. And then from there, I was like kind of going, do you know, you could really just start it if you were like, basically, if you're at the petrol pump and, you know, connection, because everybody's going to connect that from there. Now I'm like kind of going, I really wish I hadn't had that thought.
So you started this, or you were prophet?
It's like, am I like in the Matrix and I'm just like kind of building my own little kind of warped world and
yeah, crazy. It's crazy. And also you can almost go down a rabbit hole, can't you? Because if you don't see people other than your immediate family, you know, you're getting all your information from the news. I think it's a really great area for me, because it's kind of almost potentially slightly dictatorial, potentially slightly dangerous, just to get your information from that source. And now it's really hard to fact check it, because you can't go out and ask your neighbour and go, oh, did you just see the thing on TV? And you go, oh, I've heard this, or I've heard that story. Oh, actually, it's this. So there's that really weird social fact checker that's not happening as much.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed when I've kind of looked at news feeds, and I must admit I'm only set myself allowed to do like once a day, just to check up and see what's happening, and it's at a specific time of the day. So then the rest feels like trying to have normality as much as possible. But when you look, you go, actually, you're not seeing anything that's happening within the world. You know, suddenly the message has become very narrowed and very controlled, and you're only getting that one message. And you think, actually, I really want to hear, can't we have the positive stuff? You know, who's coming out on the other side? You know, because at the moment, the message I just get, which feeds into, you know, kind of my anxiety, you get it, you die. You know? And that is just, you know, an incredibly scary message to hear.
Absolutely. So, all right, John. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.